everyone. A very warm welcome to you all on this fine evening. I'm pleased to welcome you to the fifth session of the Women in Product Summit 2024. The Women in Product Summit, hosted by the Product Leaders Forum and the Institute of Product Leadership, presents a dynamic platform where we can share our journeys, exchange insights, and acquire wisdom from some extraordinary leaders and feel inspired to collectively push boundaries. Our aim is to challenge conventional leadership norms, awaken your inner potential, and shape a future that resonates with your ambitions. My name's Harleen, and I'm your host for this session. The summit consists of 3 weeks of online sessions building up to the grand finale at the in-person conference, which is on the 7th of April here in Bangalore in Whitefield. We will be hearing from an array of inspirational women from all walks of life during the upcoming online sessions, culminating with a one-of-a-kind experience at our in-person conference. We're here today for this session that is going to be delivered by the remarkable Sireesha Tekuru, who is the Senior Principal Product Manager at Paytm on rewriting the rules, having it all on your own terms. As mentioned, we will be conducting multiple virtual sessions over the next week as well. Our next session, which is scheduled for the 2nd of April, which is Tuesday evening, will be delivered by the inspiring Miss Akila, who is the co-founder and CTO on the topic of women entrepreneurs driving change in manufacturing tech. The cherry on top of it all, as I mentioned, will be the grand finale of the in-person conference that will take place on the 7th of April, Sunday in Bangalore. Our featured speakers, some of whom are visible on your screen, there will be others as well, are all inspirational women who will share actionable perspectives on careers, products, and current challenges. The day promises to be power-packed and a unique experience that is designed to equip professionals with essential tools and knowledge for excellence in the professional landscape. You can find the link to the website for the conference in the chat window. Make sure to register soon to secure your spot at this exclusive conference. That was a little overview about the summit and its mission. Before we start today's insightful session, I'd like to give you a quick introduction to the host of the summit, which is the Product Leaders Forum. The Product Leaders Forum is a volunteer-powered nonprofit organization that has been crafted by practitioners for practitioners. With a global footprint encompassing chapters in Bangalore, Pune, Hyderabad, and Silicon Valley, it's a movement that is dedicated to product leadership. The forum's mission is to cultivate a vital and distinctive platform for product leaders worldwide. Through fostering diverse viewpoints and rich dialogue on product thinking, the forum aims to catalyze mindset shifts, unlock profound insights, and offer hands-on learning opportunities to enhance skills. The summit is, you can scan the QR code on the screen to find out more about the Product Leaders Forum. The summit is also being organized in partnership with the Institute of Product Leadership. The Institute of Product Leadership is Asia's first business school providing accredited degree programs and certification courses in product management, product leadership, data science, design, strategy, and leadership. The Institute has partnered with multiple universities and was founded in 2012 with a singular mission of creating 10,000 product leaders in the country. Ever since, the organization has designed and delivered programs in collaboration with various institutes, universities, and corporates to the senior working professionals to help them make career transitions into product leadership. The Institute has built and developed a community of over 3,700 plus successful alumni leading the product, data, and design teams across the world. We're also knowledge partners for 250 plus organizations worldwide. You can find out more about the Institute and the programs offered on our website. You can find the link to the same in the chat window. Today's session is on rewriting the rules, having it all on your terms, where our speaker will delve into some unsaid rules that exist in today's society, and she will share how she rewrote those rules on her own terms in her professional journey, and she will also be discussing the challenges of balancing motherhood, career, and self care. Once our speaker has presented her insights, we will open up for questions. You can post your questions in Zoom in the Q&A section. This session is being streamed live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So viewers on any of these channels, please feel free to post your questions in the comment section and we will share them with the speaker. Here is some exciting news for all the attendees tonight. You have the opportunity to win a free digital course. The best asked question in tonight's session will get this reward. You can find a link in the chat where you can check out all the digital learning courses that are offered by the Institute of Product Leadership. The courses offered are all new age skill courses for every step of your career. Every course has been built, curated, and designed by industry practitioners. The winner of the best asked question today will get to pick a course of their choice. Don't miss out on this opportunity, guys. Not only do you get to engage with our esteemed speaker, but you also stand a chance to win a digital learning course. Without further ado, let me kickstart this session by introducing and welcoming our speaker for today, Miss Sireesha. Like I said, she's the Senior Principal Product Manager at Paytm, and she's here today to share her journey and the challenges she faced and how she overcame them. Please do welcome you today, Sireesha.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining the session, and thanks, Harleen, for the introduction. So can I proceed with sharing my screen and the session?
Yeah, the session is yours now.
Okay, I hope everybody is able to see my screen.
The
So
screen's
today's
visible,
session,
Sireesha. Thank
yeah,
you.
thanks for confirming. So hi, everybody. So I will be discussing certain unsaid rules that exist in the society today and how they might be demotivating, when you actually think about it and how it might impact your day-to-day lifestyle as well as career, right? And we will also discuss how to redefine and rewrite those to suit the modern day society, right? So before I go into the detailed agenda, I'll just give you a glimpse of what is coming up so that you know what to expect in the session. So these three rules that I'm going to discuss today have occurred in three different stages of my life, right? So in my early 20s, I had this belief that you need to hold a elite undergrad in order to do well in your career. So that's the first one. The second one is typically what me and a lot of other women also believe when they are mid-level professionals in the workforce, right? So women have certain handicaps at workplace owing to the gender bias that exists in the workplaces. And the third one is going to be the most important one that I'm going to discuss, which is a very popular belief in the society, that women cannot have it all. They have to choose between career, motherhood, and self-care. So without delay, let's just go into the agenda where I will deep dive into each of these, right? So I'll spend some time in introducing myself in a little bit more detail, both on personal and professional fronts. Uh, and I will deep dive into each of the unsaid rules that I just spoke about. We'll discuss what the actual belief is and how it manifests in today's day and age. And I will talk about certain incidents which happened to me and which impacted me in that context. And I'll also discuss some learnings that I've put together while I was, living through these incidents, right? And finally, for each of the rule or belief that exists today, we'll be rewriting it and redefining it to suit the modern day workforce or modern day woman. So my introduction. So I was brought up in Tirupati, which is a temple town in Andhra Pradesh. Like I come from a very orthodox family. So my mother is a state government employee of Andhra Pradesh, and my dad used to work in a pharmaceutical company as a area sales manager. So I studied in the same school from KG until 10th, and I was a very bright student at academics. And I was a certified Carnatic singer as well during my schooling itself. And I featured in a few TV reality singing shows as well that air on Telugu TV channels. So that was what my schooling is about. And I used to be a very bright student, and I scored really well in my 10th and plus two as well. Right. So in 2007, which was right around my 11th and 12th, right? So we moved to Hyderabad because my mom got transferred to Hyderabad. And then so since I was used to the comfort of my home, right, I was never aspiring to study at a IIT or NIT because I always prioritized the comfort of, going to and from my own home. Which is why I didn't even get into the coachings of IIT. And so back in the day, in early 2000s, right? I'm not sure if it is relevant today as well, but there was a lot of rage around how IIT, JEE preparation and AIEEE preparation has to be started right from when you're in high school, right? So I didn't get into any of that, which is why I landed in a tier two engineering college in Hyderabad, which is Gokaraju Rangaraju Institute of Engineering and Technology. And I completed my engineering there in 2013. And then 2013 is when my professional journey started as well. So my first job is at ADP, which is a US-based MNC who is into payrolls. And my second job was at Pramati Technologies, which is a Hyderabad-based product company. And then I worked at SS&C, which is again an MNC, which makes hedge fund products, right? So over the course of 4.5 years from 2013 until 2018, mid 2018, right? I became a seasoned full stack developer because I worked in all stacks in multiple teams, and I worked on various different products, and I have become a full stack developer at that point. But then along the way, I have realized that my passion lies, not in architecting systems, but instead in solving business problems and solutionizing things to using technology and making an impact on the P&L of the company in a more direct way, right? That's when I started thinking about MBA. And when I applied the first time, I didn't get through ISB admission, and then I got through the second time. So I joined ISB in 2018, and I graduated in 2019. And I met my husband at ISB itself. And my first product management job also happened in ISB during my campus placements. My first job as a product manager was at Zeta in Bangalore itself. So I started out as an associate product manager there. And then I moved to Amazon after 2.5 years of good career at Zeta. I worked for Amazon for a little over 1 year. And then I joined Paytm just about this time last year. And I've been working in Paytm ever since. So 2023 and 4 is also special to me on a personal front because I entered motherhood. I gave birth to my baby boy in July 2023, right? And I joined back workforce after 6 months of maternity leave, early Jan 2024. So I also grew from a IC product manager into leading a team of product managers around the same time. So that's a brief introduction of myself. And I will just go into each of the rules and we'll dissect it and we'll see, how to rewrite it, right? So the first rule is that you need to hold an elite undergrad degree to do well in your career. So there is this ingrained belief in the society, which also might be true to some extent, that if you graduate from an IIT, NIT, or BITS, any tier one grad school for that matter, right? You are going to, do very well in career. Like I told you, right? I was preferring the comfort of home when I was a teenager who had to make a decision uh, at that point, right? When I was 16, 17 years old. But then 2 years, 3 years into my graduation, I realized how I had a missed opportunity there to study in an elite school, because right around end of third year you get campus placements, right? So I had a lot of friends who were also studying at IITs and NITs, and I've seen the kind of companies that visit, and I've seen the kind of pay packages they get, and they have a lot of options to choose from as well, right? So looking at all of this, I got placed in a services company around the same time, right? And there were not too many options to choose from. So looking at the proceedings, I was kind of convinced that if you're not graduating from a tier one undergrad, you cannot do anything about it, but you will always not be able to catch up to those folks, right? So that is something which which has sort of demotivated me at that point for a few months as well. And I just kept wondering, is there anything that I can do to make this better, right? So right around my final year, right? So I realized that I at least have to try my level best to do something about it, which is when I started getting into data structures and algorithms and competitive programming, right? So if any of you might have been in software developer roles, you know the kind of importance that DS and algos will hold in the interviews, right? So if you crack the DS and algo questions, you will definitely get land a good role in software development. But then there is a bigger problem. Freshers do not easily land interviews, right? So what I've done is that there was this advertisement that I've seen online. So internet is not as developed as it is today, back in the day in 2013 types, right? So back in the day, I saw an advertisement which said they have IIT students giving a part-time coaching to folks on DS and Algos. And along with that, they said if we really do well there, they will be referring us to some product companies, right? So that's how I landed at ADP. I luckily got a referral and I managed to get that job as well. Although ADP is not as coveted as, let's say, the companies that come to so let's say Google. I was still considering it a win on my side, because that is something which I cracked, without the help of, let's say, my college management, etc. And I also made a few switches right after ADP, which where I was looking at getting more seasoned as a software developer. That's where Pramati Technologies and SS&C have come in, right? And then as I mentioned during my intro, I realized my passion is more satisfying when I work in a product role rather than a role in software development. And then I cracked ISB admission process as well, which was very tough, by the way, for somebody like me, because all the competitors that you see are again from the same set of people who have studied in tier one undergrads, right? So creating the differentiator and convincing the admission panel that you are worthy of studying there took me 2 years, right? Not just one application. And then after I started studying at ISB, there was no looking back. I think right after ISB, I landed a good starter product manager role. And then there was no looking back after that. And so from 2013 until 2024, if I look back 10, 11 years, I think this has progressed really well. And 21-year-old Sireesha will be very happy, to look at how much progress that she has made, right? So that's my story. So now I'm going to discuss about certain learnings I had, right? Yes, being from a tier one college definitely gives you an advantage, but you have to really, really work hard. And it is possible to, sort of catch up and get the kind of coveted roles which are considered really good in the corporate world, right? So here are a couple of things that I could collate. Which will really help you get that boost, right? A full-time postgrad of an MBA or MTech that opens up opportunities. So higher studies is not just about skill building, right? Higher studies will also build that network, which will help you land your dream job, right? In my case, it was MBA. But for somebody who is into hardware engineering, probably a MTech from IISc will help better, right? So a full-time postgrad will definitely add a lot of value, and it opens up a lot of gates for you, right? And the second thing that you can do, and I've seen a lot of people do in my career, is working your way up into function shifting within the same company. So while I was at Amazon, I've seen people who actually joined as customer service executives and who are holding a high leadership position today, leading a team of 100, 150 people as well, right? So a lot of companies value people who are working hard day to day for the company. And once you convince your manager and your leadership that you can do well in a given function, right? You might land a chance to try out a different function as well. But the key lies in expressing it and keeping people updated about your aspirations, right? So I myself also have helped a couple of people move from a business analytics role to product role because product is the true calling, right? So yeah, that's also a way that I saw worked really well for a lot of people. And then the third one, which is I think suits the most of us, right? You can upskill yourself with certifications and executive MBA programs as well. So Institute of Product Leadership for that, for example, is offering really good courses in product management, and I think those will definitely give you a boost if you are aspiring to be a product leader, right? I'm sure some of you in the audience must already be enrolled into some of these courses, and I would say you already have taken a right step there, right? So these are some things which you can do to reach where you wanted to, even if you didn't get that elite education that is mainstream considered good, right? So lastly, let's redefine the rule. So even without a tier one undergrad, you can work your way up with the right career moves and upskilling, right? So that's what, we are not trying to debunk the beliefs or anything. We are just trying to rewrite them so that they suit the modern day society and they are more progressive rather than, assertive and demotivating in a way, right? So if there are any relevant questions specific to this topic, I can take them and then move on. Um, okay, and I don't see any questions here. Okay. So the second rule that I wanted to talk about is the fact that women have handicaps at workplace owing to gender biases, right? So even in this day and age where a lot of women have entered workforce, there are some biases between how men and women are treated at workplace, right? So it might not be as apparent as it was, let's say, 3 decades ago. It was way worse back then. But thankfully, to all our previous generation, we have it a lot easier these days. But still, certain gender biases exist, right? So owing to these biases, women tend to have certain handicaps which will actually make their growth slower than their male counterparts at work, right? So this is the belief. This is also something which has had a big impact on me because I was always giving that margin of error for the fact that, okay, since I'm a woman, I will probably be getting a slower growth than other males who have joined with me, right? Uh, so I will talk about certain stories of mine. So firstly, there is this assumption that women do not want to take up physically and mentally taxing jobs and assignments, right? So I want to narrate an incident from my career itself. So there was this project. So I was a full stack developer at that point of time. There was this project that I was really attached to, and I was really looking forward to the day that it goes live, right? So right before the day it went live, there was a UAT issue, user acceptance testing issue that has been raised the night before, right? And then I was not even made aware of it. And the next day when I went into office, so we are talking about pre-COVID here, that's why I went to office the next day morning. Uh, So everybody were on and on about how this other guy in my team has fixed the issue overnight, and he was, everybody were all praises for his contribution, right? That's when it hit me that this is the project that I am primarily owning. What is the need to get it fixed by somebody else, right? Who's not the primary owner for it? So I kind of wanted to be upfront with my manager about it. So I asked him why that is the case, and the reply that I got is that Sirisha, I am not sure if it is appropriate to call you late in the night. It's okay. It just got fixed. Don't worry. I just didn't want to disturb you. I would rather disturb him. So I think that was a dire assumption to be made on their side, right? That I wouldn't want to be disturbed at 11 p.m. in the night, right? And also, when you're really attached to a project or a scope of work that you're doing, you really feel for it. You wouldn't want to, share it with anyone else unless there is a need, right? So that's one example. And also, a lot of times I see people saying that women should not get into functions like sales and marketing, which will require field visits, etc. So I think that kind of stereotyping is there, which is what I'm calling a bias over here. Because not all women think the same way, right? There might be, so you might be right in most of the cases, but you're going wrong in a lot of cases as well. So such assumptions exist. And one more aspect where I see the bias is a lot of managers, right? So they wouldn't have any mal intentions as such. It's not that they wanted to pull you down, but they are just very straight to the point. They do straight to the point kind of conversations, which is why you lose out on a lot of auxiliary information, right? One example I can give you is, so there was this conference which was happening abroad in a different country, right? So I was not even consulted if I would be interested. And there is this other guy from the team who was sent, right? I only was made aware of it when it was casually being discussed in the office, right? So what I'm trying to say is that this is a missed opportunity for me to even fight for it, right? So if there is an opportunity to which two people compete, then one person winning against another is okay. But the other person not being aware of it is not okay, right? So that's where I'm coming at. Yeah, so these are the kind of biases that I've noticed at my workplaces. So what can you do about it? Is the more important thing here, right? You will have to work hard. There's no going back there, right? Because unless you work hard, that's a given for not just women but men as well, right? But your hard work will not do the talking, right? Unlike, again, another popular belief, people say your work talks. I don't think that is the case in a lot of situations. Sometimes showcasing the work is as important as doing it, right? Because especially in corporates, what happens is a lot of people showcase a lot of things, and then when you are someone who works very very hard but do not showcase anything, that might just not be in the minds of people, right? That you are working very hard. So all of the hard work that you have put in uh, will not actually materialize into anything because people don't take a note of it actively, right? For example, take someone who's at a director level. They probably have 100 reportees like you do, right? So how will that person know that you have contributed meaningfully here, right? So it's on you to bring it up in the right forums. Now, I'm not saying that you should hoard your work at every single opportunity you get, but I'm saying you have to be very smart about how you showcase it and how you get into the eyes of people who actually might give you growth, right? So that's one. And secondly, be more vocal about your career aspirations, right? This is not specific to women as such, but in general, you have to be vocal about what you want in today's day and age. People will just not assume, will not understand by default, right? So if you think you're underpaid for the kind of responsibilities you're taking, you have to be vocal about it. Okay. And also, I've seen a lot of like I have especially seen young women being hesitant to ask for a hike or ask for a promotion, right? But that is really wrong because you have probably one or two cycles a year. Okay, so right when the time is right, you have to be vocal about it, and you have to in fact build it up for the previous 3 to 4 months, so that it doesn't occur as a surprise to your manager or to your leadership, right? And you have to proactively mention the kind of opportunities that you're looking for, right? For example, like I just told you in the previous discussion, right? You might be looking for a function shift, right? So unless you tell people that you wanted to transition, they wouldn't know about it. And function shift doesn't come overnight, right? It requires probably a couple of years of preparation sometimes, right? So in that case, you will have to be more vocal about about the fact that you wanted to take a career shift. And let's say in the example that I gave, the conference example, right, where I couldn't go and I was not sent. What I could have done is that I know that the conference is around the corner. I could have probably expressed it to my manager that, hey, the next time this comes up, please consider me as well because I'm very interested to go, right? So yeah, you have to be very proactive and you have to tell your aspirations to people. Otherwise, it's not going to be implicit in any way. Okay. And then also be communicative about anything that you wanted to know, right? If you think you have been treated unfairly, or if you think if you think you needed to be treated better, or you needed a better rating for that matter. Let's say you're expecting exceeding expectations for a cycle, and you do not get that. You get reaching expectations. Then a lot of times these conversations get missed because your manager is not interested in you as in your career as much as you are, right? And also instances like what I just told you, right? My manager did not call me in the night to fix the issues that came in the UAT. So like I was very vocal about it and I was upfront. That's when I understood what happened, right? So be upfront about resolving any conflicts or misses, right? Just don't keep it with you, but be polite in doing so, obviously. And be upfront also about the fact that you are open and you do not need any flexibilities. Like for example, I have seen a lot of managers assume that when a girl gets engaged or when a girl gets pregnant, they kind of assume that they do not want to take up a lot of challenging work, right? So if you think you are devoid of any opportunity, please ask upfront in a one-on-one conversation, and that won't do you any harm. A lot of times I notice that people are very hesitant to do that, right? So these are the kind of learnings that I was able to draw from my from my experience, right? Now some of you might be wondering, why do I have to do this? My male counterparts have it easy. Why do I have to make it? So by the way, all of these three that I just told you are not just relevant for women; it's relevant for men as well. But in the case of women, right, you have to be more aggressive about executing these things. Okay. So now you might ask me, why do I have to do it? Right. So luckily or unluckily, we are still not in a society where true equality exists in the society, right? At the same time, the gender biases are not as apparent, right? So for a better future where, where people understand that women do not expect any special treatment, women do not hesitate from doing physically or mentally taxing things. This is how the progression of it is going to be. So we as professionals, if we keep doing it, that will lead to a societal change. And maybe 10, 20 years later, we will be in an ideal world where all of these things have to be done with a equal aggression by men and women both, right? So yeah, these are my learnings. So I'm going to rewrite this belief now. Gender biases unfortunately exist, but they do not pull you down in the career when they're tackled in the right manner, right? So that's what the topic 2 is about. I see a question in the box. I'll just try to answer that. How to? I'm not sure. Okay. So I'm going to take this at the end of the session. Okay. So the last and most important thing, right? And I'm also very passionate about talking about this, especially because I have lived through this in the recent past itself, right? So there is this belief which goes like women can't have it all. They have to choose between career, motherhood, and self-care, right? So yeah, so essentially what happens is the kind of career that you want to build will take a few years after you graduate, right? So you graduate around, let's say, 21, 22. And by the time you are building your career and it is going right in the way that you wanted, your biological clock also ticks, and you wanted to start a family, right? And this is a fact that all of us know. But what is the consequence of this is that people believe that women have to choose. They have to choose between career, motherhood, and self care, right? This is the belief that we are really going to debunk today, and we are going to discuss more in detail on how women can have it all, right? So, yeah, so my story, right? So I'm going to talk about how I sailed through this very recently, right? So I was, looking for some kind of a mentorship and some kind of a, guidance on how to sail through this phase of my life, because I graduated from the B school of my choice, and then I got married, and my husband and we were traveling, and we were all happy. And then, right when it occurred to us that we wanted to start a family, I wanted to talk to someone who can really guide me through how that journey goes, right? Now, if you look at media, there is a lot of glorification around how women can multitask, women are, superheroes, they do a lot of things at once, etc. So I think that kind of adds stress to people who are, especially planning to enter that phase of life, right? So it, in fact, does more harm than good, because you are not that confident of yourself just yet, right? Because you have not lived through it. Uh, I didn't. So unfortunately, I didn't find any good mentorship or guidance relating to that. Like nothing encouraging, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. I thought we will just take the plunge and see what how it goes, right? I was expecting in around November, December of 2022, right? And there was a global announcement by Amazon that their layoffs are around the corner, right? So now layoffs are usually for a small percentage of workforce. That is true. But then the business unit that I was in was in kind of a layoff threat at that point of time, right? Because of whatever internal reasons, we were expecting that a lot of the team will be laid off at that time. Okay, so that added to my anxiety levels a lot, right? Because layoff is bad as is, but when it is when it occurs around the time that you're expecting, it creates even more anxiety, right? Because it becomes that much more difficult for you to find a job in the market. And it's not like you can lie to your recruiters, right? End of the day, I wanted to be ethical, and I wanted to be upfront about the fact that I'm going to need a maternity leave as soon, like maybe a few months after joining itself, right? And then so yeah, so I was not even sure if I should look for a job, because that was actually a very risky time, is what a lot of people around me have told me. Like it gets only more tough as your pregnancy progresses. So I was really, really unsure of what to do. And it was very, very taxing for me mentally as well. Because like it was in a situation where I don't know where to go to, right? And we were just anticipating layoffs. There was not even a lot of work going on at that time to keep me distracted, right? That's when I got into prenatal yoga. So I have actually, came across it online. I've done some research, and I started, doing prenatal yoga online. And ever since, it has been a habit that I've built. And then after that, I progressed into postpartum yoga, and now I'm doing like really intense workouts as well. So that's where my fitness journey has started, I would say. And that has really helped me to keep my mind off all these things for a while. So that's when the layoffs have been announced, and luckily or unluckily, I've survived. But 80% of my team is gone, and mentally it was very disturbing to see so many people go, and also a lot of a lot of uh, people. So I, for example, I was not assigned any anything to do as well for a few days, for a few weeks, I would say, right? So that was very anxious phase as well, right? So that's when the opportunity of Paytm has come in. Okay. So Paytm was recruiting for the devices product at that point of time. And then I gave the interviews, and then I was upfront about the fact that I'm 5 months into pregnancy, and then I would go on a maternity leave 4 months down the line itself, right? But then the recruitment team and my to-be manager were very supportive about it, and they still wanted me to join. But then a lot of friends and family also have suggested that it is probably a very risky time to shift jobs because the pregnancy only gets tougher as it progresses, right? But then I wanted to take that gamble because firstly, it is working from home, so I don't have to travel. And secondly, I thought I am better off, joining Paytm rather than sit idle for I don't know how long it's going to be, right? And yeah, so and also I always wanted to work for Indian ecosystem, right? It has always been an aspiration for me to understand Indian consumer, and the devices teams basically are merchant facing, right? So I felt that's a good persona for me to, understand and work with at this stage of my career. So career wise, it seemed like a perfect move as well. So I have actually brushed off all the, all the other things, and then I joined Paytm. And as expected, I got into more responsibilities than I ever did in my product career so far. And I started leading a big charter. And I got a sense of people management as well. And a lot happened over the course of those 4 months, right? And then I went on maternity leave. I came back, so during the course of my maternity leave, I have started building a support system, right? So, and then by the time I joined back in Jan, it felt very anxious to join back because you're with the kid full time for 6 months. And then suddenly shifting into work mode for 8 to 9 hours a day is not going to be easy physically and mentally, right? Uh, but then with a good support system and with a clear mind and keeping up all my habits, I am somehow able to manage it. And 2.5 months down the line after joining back, I think it's getting managed pretty well. And I'm sure there'll be more challenges going forward, but I'm ready to face all of that. I'm at least confident enough to say that we'll see when it comes, right? Rather than being anxious all the time. So I'm also going to share a few learnings as well, right? On how to get through these situations, get through this transition, right? So the first thing we you have to do is compartmentalize, right? So for people who are who are very diligent at work and who are very succumbed into work, uh, compartmentalizing is going to be very challenging. Whatever you see at work, you will take it with you after you close your laptop as well, right? And that is definitely not going to do anything good to you because let's say I had a really bad day at work where I had a bit of a altercation with my stakeholder, and then I come back and I miss my evening walk or workout for that matter, right? So end of the day, I will just feel counterproductive, right? It's not going to make it any better. But if I had an altercation with a stakeholder, it was a bad day at work, but I do my workout, I will still feel productive when I'm going to sleep, right? I know it is very difficult to pull off. It took a while for me as well, but this has really worked for me in terms of managing everything, right? Because unless you compartmentalize, you will just be bummed all day after work if you carry things. And similarly, you cannot take your personal life to work as well. For example, you had a lot of guests, and it was at home, and then you have a lot of work to do than any other day today, for example. Doesn't mean you have to compromise on your work life as well, right? You have to do your regular meetings. You have to do everything that you do on a day to day at work, right? So compartmentalization really helps with uh, you know uh, with managing everything together. And then make a schedule and a to-do list. I know this sounds very cliched. I mean, it's a no-brainer to just put up a schedule and try executing it. But I would suggest to have it in a more sustainable way, right? And also have enough touch points so that you are compelled to do those. Like, for example, my to-do list for a day goes like, take your morning shake, protein shake, and then give a massage to the baby, and then get him bathed, dress him up, and then do my workout for half an hour, and then do my breakfast, and then have coffee, and then get into work. So what you can do is you can create a to-do list which is applicable for all the working days. And there are a lot of good habit building apps on Play Store, right? So some of them also give you a homepage widget on the mobile, right? So as and when you finish a habit, you can tick it, right? So for example, I take my morning protein shake. I can just tick it on the homepage, right? And I can track the progress of it a few days down the line. So that's when you will understand how regular or frequent you've been with the habits that actually mean to you, right? So for example, I try to keep up with some habits such as my workout, or I have a habit of writing a daily journal as well, at least couple of times a day, couple of times a week, right? So that's when you would know if you actually need an intervention, or if you're doing well with your habits, right? Um, and it also takes off a lot of mental burden. You can just go into execution mode. You don't have to think about, hey, what should I do now, what should I do then, etc., right? So you'll have that accountability. You have data. So since I'm a product manager, I am data driven with these things as well, right? So let's say I worked out only for 3 days in the last 2 weeks. Then I would know that the data shows that I'm not very regular. Otherwise, there is no people always overestimate their efforts, right? So you do not want to leave any bandwidth for that kind of error, right? So yeah, a to-do list backed with a to-do app really works, right? And work out 5 times a week. So again, this is also very cliched. Everybody tells you to work out, but trust me, it is definitely going to be much easier than you imagine once you get into the rhythm of it, right? So workout need not be a cardio workout or a yoga that somebody else does, right? You can do what works for you. It could be playing basketball, or it could be playing tennis, it could be swimming, it could be yoga or cardio workout or running. Some physical activity 5 times a week, especially during weekdays, will really, really help you feel productive, right? Uh, so half an hour in a day, I would say, is not a big investment of time, because we spend half an hour in a lot of things which do not matter in the long term. For example, we watch some YouTube videos which are inconsequential for our lives, right? I'm not saying you should cut out time from your entertainment. Your entertainment can also happen, but then 20 minutes to 30 minutes a day is definitely not a huge investment of time, and the benefits you get out of it are immense, right? You feel productive all day, and you feel proud of yourself for building a healthy habit, right? So I really, really recommend this, some kind of physical activity 5 days a week, right? And one more thing that I've noticed in a lot of women is that, uh, they think about quitting workforce too early, right? So that the anxiety is definitely understandable, the anxiety around motherhood and the anxiety around whether or not you can manage everything is definitely understandable. But my sincere suggestion is, don't think about quitting as the first option, right? Instead, what you should do is you should focus on building the right support systems, right? For example, like so my parents and in-laws could not come live with us to take care of the kid because they have their own things to take care of back back at their places. But I have managed to find a good nanny who stays 9 to 7 at our home and takes care of the kid. Right. So it takes about a month or two to find the right nanny and you know to find someone who actually resonates with your kid, right? So when I was on maternity leave, I was actually focusing on finding a good nanny and that transition phase of making the kid get used to somebody else, right? So that actually worked out really well, and now although there are instances when my kid really needs me when I'm in a meeting, more often than not I can happily come into a different room. I work from home, thankfully. I can come into a room and then take my meeting without any kind of distractions, right? So building that support system is important. In my case, it is nanny, and in your case, it could be somebody else taking care of the baby, or it could be among the partners. One can work more aggressively in the night, while during the day they keep themselves free and available, right? So building that support system is what should be the primary focus. So quitting should not be the first option out there, because uh, I've seen a lot of women who, when they look back a few years, right, they realize that, okay, they keep wondering, was it the right move at that point of time, right? So you should not leave a chance for your future self to think that way. So unless you're really, really sure, don't think of it as an option, is what I'm trying to say, right? And The next thing is, don't compromise on the kind of assignments you want to take at work, right? I think most of us work in jobs which do not require physical activity. If it requires physical activity, that's a different thing. But don't compromise on the quality of your assignments. So the moment you realize you're expecting, and till the moment you go on maternity leave, is about 8 months, right? So 8 months is a really, really long time to compromise on the quality of work you do, in your profession, right? So don't think of it as a phase of life where you should slow down. Rather, you should focus on, trying to make arrangements, like you'll be working from home in case if it's required that you have to travel to office, right? Maybe if that works for you in your pregnancy, if that makes easier, you can make that kind of arrangements. But there is like, at least I didn't feel any need to compromise on the kind of assignments or the scope of work to be taken, right? And also I have realized that uh, me being busy with work also helps me from relieving stress at home, right? So back at home, I have a lot more responsibilities to fulfill as well. So the moment I come into room, I sit on this table and chair, and then I get into meetings. I'm really, really off everything going on in my personal life, and it really helps. So after this webinar, for example, when I go back to my kid, I really feel happy about it because I have done I've done something meaningful, I've done something productive, is what I'm going to feel, right? So that's what it is going to be. So please don't hesitate to take up challenging work. It is going to be okay. When it gets out of hand, I think that's when you should vocalize, but you need not make assumptions that it's going to be bad from way beginning itself, right? Put yourself before others needs, and do not feel guilty. So a lot of times I've seen women feeling guilty about doing something for themselves, right? So this might work in short term, but it will definitely be mentally very burdensome for you in the future if you have compromised on too many things, right? So you have to keep up that hobby of yours, which you always had, right? Or you should always keep up that entertainments that you look at. Like for example, I'm a big time Tollywood buff. I watch all the Telugu movies out there, right? So if I'm not going to take time out, and maybe I'm not able to watch as many movies as before, but it shouldn't be like I am devoid of my movie time just to take care of the family and the kid, right? because somewhere down the line, I might feel like I've given up a little too much. So I don't want to get into that situation and then keep wondering, how have I become lately, right? And one very good example that I can give you is my son was sick yesterday, and he really required attention, right? And I was preparing for this webinar because the time I get after work is only late in the night, right? So I was just wondering if I should really be doing this, but then I realized that this is something which is very important to me, and being a speaker at this conference is something that's going to mean a lot to me, right? So I immediately asked my husband, and he was understanding as well. And then he took my son, and then he was managing my son for a couple of hours. And in the meantime, I have done some preparation, and then I got back to him. And no regrets, right? I'm going to be fully with him physically and mentally, and I took care of him. And then thankfully, he's feeling better today. So nothing like it, right? So you should really not feel guilty. And I think this happens a lot, that your interests and your entertainments and your hobbies will take a back step, right? So please don't let that happen to you, because even if you compromise, you're going to help your husband or do some chores at work while still wondering why you have not allocated time for yourself, right? So overall, for the greater good as well, it's good to prioritize yourself sometimes, right? So yeah, these are my learnings, and let's revisit it. uh, women can um, Women can have it all, with a bit of planning, a lot of persistence and discipline, right? I think a lot of things that I mentioned in my learnings will require persistence and will require a lot of discipline to be put in. But with that, you definitely can reach a state where you can have it all, right? You need not compromise. And I can definitely tell you that there is a way out. You can be everything that you wanted without having to give up on anything, right? So yeah, so that's my story. And thank you so much for hearing me out. Uh,
Thank you, Sirisha. That was a great session. You've provided some great and like motivating insights. I feel very motivated right now to, take charge of myself and my career and my personal life as well. So thank you for that wonderful session. We can move on to some questions now. We've received some on YouTube. The first one is from Priyanka on YouTube, who has asked, how can young women approach the conversation about pay hikes? I think you
okay.
mentioned, we have to be more proactive and,
Yes.
more vocal, but how can we do
Mhm.
it? I think
Okay,
is the
okay.
question.
Yeah, yeah. So first of all, stop thinking of it as a taboo, right? End of the day, we all work for money. So try and remind yourself that everybody, including your manager, who you're talking to about the pay, is there working for the sake of money, right? So the same kind of so remind yourself that the same kind of conversation which you're having with your manager might be having with their own manager, right? So I think somewhere we lose a perspective, and we kind of assume that if I ask for a hike, then people will assume that I am a money minded person, right? So yes, everybody is money minded in this world, and let's come to terms with it, right? So stop thinking of it as a taboo. Understand and remind yourself that everybody works for money, including your manager, their manager, and the CEO, themselves, right? I think having that perspective will really ease you up, right? And one more thing that I wanted to call out is that please don't restrict yourself from asking questions related to the session itself. You can ask me anything related to my product management career as well. Happy to answer.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Sirisha. We have another question from Abhiraj, who has asked, staying in one company for a long time versus switching companies frequently. What is your opinion on this?
Okay, so I have switched quite a few companies in my career, right? So it's not black and white, and I cannot give you a blanket answer, right? I think the consideration at any point in time should be, certain basic parameters that you set for yourself. Like for me, the most important parameters are going to be my scope of work, right? And my how my pay is with respect to my peers, right? And how good my manager is, how understanding he or she is, and how is my work environment, how is the culture in the company, am I going to learn something from my peers and from the culture that has been running in this company, right? And yeah, so the scope of work is something that I give rank 1 to. And if I see that the scope is getting stale for a while, I try to move on from one project to another within the same company. Or so sometimes moving within the same company and going to a different company won't be very different choices to make as well, right? Because let's say I work for Amazon, so so to move teams within Amazon is more or less the same as moving companies itself, because the culture from team to team also differs, right? So I would say have those parameters in mind. If 80% of the parameters are satisfied, then please stay back and do not run behind just one. Do not run behind title. Do not run behind money, and do not run behind having a lot of scope for yourself. So you have to give a weighted average for all the parameters you have instead of giving importance to just one, right? Because so in my experience, what I've noticed is that a lot of young people lately give a lot of importance to the title they get, either title they get or the money they're going to receive, right? So while I just told you that money is important, you also have to play a long term game, right? It's not that job B is going to give you 20% hike as compared to job A. You have to shift there. It's not as simple as that. Let's say you stay in job A, your manager is good, your peers are good, your scope of work is good. Maybe you will, get two promotions in the next 2, 3 years, and maybe 3 years down the line, you're better off with this direction than the other direction, right? So you have to evaluate all of that while making a decision about the switch.
That's great. Thank you for that answer, Sirisha. We have another question from Sakshi, who has asked that proactiveness in women in the workplace is perceived as bossy and rude usually. How can we manage that stigma?
Okay. I don't think we have to manage. Let the perception be, and it's not going to affect you in any way. I can guarantee you that. Okay. People might just think that you're bossy, but they can't do anything about it, right? So, so I would say
Right.
don't fight it too hard. As long as you believe that you are polite enough, as long as you believe that you are not bossy and you are not being unreasonable, it's okay. Just let it go. If you come to know from somebody else that people think you're bossy, don't worry about it. Your career progression, your hikes, or your perception, so the perception of people of you, all of these will not matter just because somebody thought you're bossy, right? And yes, I think, thank you for actually raising this. I have seen this in a lot of instances myself as well. When a woman is being assertive, it comes out as if they're being bossy. It doesn't come out, but people think they're being bossy. But I realized over time that you need not fight it. I was also of the same opinion at one point on I should learn to tackle it the right way, or how do I make myself sound more polite. Then over time I realized you need not do anything. You just have to answer yourself, nobody else, right? Just be polite on your own terms, be ethical, be nice to people, don't be rude to people. As long as you're doing all of this, as long as you're convinced that you're doing all of this, it's okay.
That's very true. You can only control what you do and say you can't control other people's perceptions, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you for that answer. We have a couple of questions on Zoom that are regarding career transitions. The first one is how to transition from business analyst to product manager role. I am not sure about the deliverables and the work.
Yeah, yeah. So I think a business analyst or a data analytics role is very relevant when it comes to making a transition, right? I feel it's a very meaningful transition from a business analyst or a data analyst into a product role, right? Because pretty much product managers also analyze business, and pretty much product managers also take out insights from the data, right? So what I would say is that if you are reporting to a product manager, right? So there are two types of reporting lines that exist in the in the companies, right? Either a business analyst or a data analyst reports to a product manager, or a business analyst or a data analyst reports to a senior business analyst, right? In the former case, it will be much easier for you because you can drive that conversation with your manager that long term you wanted to go into product management, and you can express that interest to your manager and take up small assignments which are more relevant to product management. Like instead of just doing the business analysis part, you can say that you want to take a shot at solutioning a problem as well, right? Because that's additionally what a product manager does on top of business analysis, right? So you can take a shot at it, and you can go to your manager in your one-on-ones and show them that, hey, this is what I've done. Do you think it is relevant to moving to product? Or have a checklist of things written with your manager on these are the skill sets that you need before you can actually officially give me the title of product manager, right? So in the first case, I think it gets much easier because sooner or later, if you're in a team of product managers, there will be an opportunity that opens up. And if you have proven yourself, you will definitely be able to make the transition. And skill set perspective, right? I think there are a lot of online courses available, or if there are any product managers that you closely work with, right? I think they can rightly guide you on the kind of skill sets that you require to build in order to be relevant to a product manager role, right? So that's in the first case. In the second case, if you're in the line of data analysis and business analytics, right? You can probably, so I'm sure even in the second case, you must be closely working with product managers, right? You can express this to your manager, even if your manager is not part of the product team itself. I think everybody kind of understands how business analysts and data analysts might have an aspiration to move into product, right? So you can talk about your transition, and you can say that you wanted to take a mentorship from a product leader, right? And then you can slowly start taking up assignments over and above what you do as a business analyst, right? And then prove your worth. And whenever a role opens up in the company, you can probably ask your product leader to take a formal interview, just like how they do with outsiders, right? So yeah, you can do all of this. And if your manager, let's say, in the unfortunate situation that if they're not supportive enough, right? You can always talk to your skip manager as well. I'm sure people in high level leadership will be sensible enough to understand how people have long term aspirations which are not 100% aligned with what they're currently doing, right?
That's great. Thank you, Sirisha. We have Shraddha who's asked, transitioning into a product manager role after having 7+ years of experience in the support domain, is that a good choice? Also, will it be suggested to do the transition now as I am 9 months old mom?
Okay. Uh, okay. So these are two different questions, right? So the fact that you're a 9 months old mom might bring a lot of anxiety in you, uh, given that you're seeking a career shift in a way, right? But I would say, like I was, just mentioning in the session, this should not be very relevant to your career switch, right? While I understand the anxiety, please be rest assured that even product managers work as many hours as what you are doing today. Okay, so it's not like your working hours are going to be any higher if you manage to do it, do it as per what is required. So don't worry about being a mom of 9 month old. I am a mother of 8 month old son myself, and I can tell you that product management is not as grueling as you have to forget everything else in life. So don't worry about it. And coming to the first part, right? It's See, as long as you have a supportive manager and you see a path. So firstly, create a path. Try and reach out to people in product. So I'm assuming now that you must be working with product managers, right, to get this aspiration that you want to move to product, right? So talk to people who are making you have these aspirations first, right? Ask them what you have to do, and then see what they're doing. Have a one-on-one mentorship session with them, and Ask them how the transition is going to be more meaningful, and then try and talk to the leaders of product within your own company, and try to establish a amicable relationship with them first, right? And then slowly work on building the skill set, right? And then after that, when a role opens up, please express your interest and say that you can take up the interview just like how an external candidate will do, right? And yeah, I'm sure things will progress well if if you strategize it that way, where you take a long term approach rather than expecting something to happen in 1 2 months itself.
Thank you, Sisha. I think that's very sound advice, right? To come up with a career roadmap for oneself, the plan, and then go about executing each step. Thank you for that. We have Jigyasa, who's asked a similar question that about transitioning into product management from a role of performance engineer, but Jigyasa does not want to go into coding. Is her challenge? Is what she's saying.
Okay, so by performance engineer, like is it a sort of a QA role, if I may know?
Yeah, Jigyasa, if you would like to, answer and give more information, I can give you. If you raise your hand on Zoom, I can give you the permission to unmute yourself. Yeah, okay, great. Uh, Jigyasa, you should be able to unmute yourself and you can talk with Sirisha.
Hi, Sireesha.
Hi, hi.
Yeah, so my role is basically a performance engineer in a data domain role. So we do
Okay.
performance analysis of data domain boxes. Earlier
Mm,
to this, I was in server domain. So in total, I have 7+ years of experience now.
mm,
I have switched internal roles, but I am willing to transition into a role which will be more fruitful, right? So
mm,
maybe
mm,
product management or project management. These two are the
mm,
uh,
mm.
domains which I'm still confused on. Plus, there is a lot of buzz
Mm.
about PMP or Prince 2 certifications. Which path should I take? What will be better? I'm so confused.
Yeah, yeah, got it. So, firstly, product and project management are vastly different professions, right? So, it really depends on where your interests lie, right? So, project management is more about managing a huge project which spans across multiple teams and a lot of stakeholder management, bringing people into one place and trying to chase people for timelines and putting multiple pieces together, right? That's what project management is about. As opposed to it, product management is more about coming up with solutions for business problems and working with the engineering teams to fine tune the requirements while also talking on behalf of the customer, right? So, product versus project management will depend on where you see yourself, right? So if you want to be a hustler and if you want to work in a role where you wanted to bring people together and you think you're a go-getter when it comes to driving things to completion, I think project management is for you. As opposed to it, if your primary interest is problem solving, if you want to solve problems for customers and if you want to see things that you have built live, that's where I would suggest product management, right? But in either case, I think you should look at transitioning into something that is more relevant to your functional experience, right? So I think, for example, from a experience like yours, moving into a consumer product, for example, might be a tough transition because you do not have the functional as well as technical expertise both at this point in time. A more relevant transition would be move into a product role, which is more focused on what you're doing right now, right? So you should aspire to be get into the role of a product manager that you're currently working with. So that is step one. So step two would be to shift domains and functions into a different kind of product management,
So,
right?
should it be a good idea that I do a PMP or Prince 2 certification now and then like
Mm-hmm.
portray that
Mm-hmm.
I'm capable of and take off projects? Or
Mm-hmm.
so in our company, it is more like product owner kind of role. So, product
Okay, okay, okay.
manager
Got
is
it, got
kind
it.
of a product engineering PO kind of a role. So, maybe I
Got
should
it,
work
got it.
with them as you suggested the lady also.
Yeah, yeah. So you should understand the expectations out of a product owner in that case, right? Just talk to people who are product owners for your own project and understand what they do, and talk to hiring managers from your own company. If somebody is recruiting for product owner roles, just talk to them on what they expect out of an external candidate, and then try to build that skill set. Right. I think product owner roles, product manager roles also slightly differ company to company. So I cannot give you a precise advice at this point in time, but the right people for that will be people who are actually hiring, product owners in your company.
Okay. Okay. Another doubt which I had related to this is, should this be like, are there more companies which offer work from home facilities in these kind of roles?
Yeah. So I think these kind of roles are not an exception to remote working, right? So I wouldn't say product and program managers uh, will have to come to office specifically as such. I think the policy is blanket across multiple tech functions. Like if your engineers or if your developers are going, you should also go. Probably like the rule or the compliance is going to be same across all the functions. It's not going to be any different for product and program managers from my experience, right? Like for example, in my team, all of us work remote. And I think in some companies, if it's a hybrid work environment, it is hybrid for everybody. So you won't be singled out as a product or program manager, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So my main problem is because being a mother of a 2-year-old and my office is like 35 kilometers away. So I was looking to transition into some other company where I can get either I can get a work from home opportunity, or I can travel to office easily near to office. So that was the main challenge.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So what I'm trying to say is product or program management do not make it any more likely or less likely for you to find a remote opportunity.
Yeah, understood. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Divya. Thank you, Sireesha. We have another question from Maitri, who is asked, as a product manager, while designing or planning product, what all key aspects are to be considered?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
As a product manager, what are the key aspects to consider while designing or planning the product?
Okay. So I think there are a lot of frameworks that you find online, right? Like people say there is a RISE framework where you say, you have to give weightage to each of the aspects. So some things that I consider are what is the effort and what is the impact, right? And also you should have MVP thinking, right? What is the effort, what is the impact, and what is the pace of the, so how fast can you go to market? So these are the three things I typically consider, right? For example, there might be a feature which might add value to, let's say, 100% of my customer base, but it takes about 7 to 8 months for me to build, right? Maybe 7 to 8 months is too long of a time, and maybe this becomes irrelevant in 7 to 8 months. So I would rather not take that call, and I would implement my MVP thinking there. I would first look at what I can go to market faster and with lesser effort, and then I will try and iterate on it. So that thinking is very important for a product manager. And also you should look at cost benefit, right? So if you're looking at something from a monetization perspective, you should include the cost of building that feature, right? So you have to take into account all the tech related cost involved and the opportunity cost of getting the dev team to work on it versus what is the impact that you're expecting to see. So if it is making sense, then you should go ahead. Otherwise, you should rethink and build it with a cheaper set of resources. So I would say my top three parameters are going to be effort, impact, and go to market. So speed of go to market.
That's great. Thank you, Sireesha. Our last question for the evening is from Naresh, who is asked how to stay confident and cancel out negative thoughts and noise while changing jobs.
Okay, sorry, can you repeat the question? How do you?
How to stay confident and cancel out negative thoughts while changing jobs.
Okay. So when you're changing jobs, right, there is a lot of anxiety because you're going into a new place and you work with this new set of people for 8 to 9 hours a day, right? So you might naturally be anxious about how things are going to turn out, right? Natural to have anxiety. And when it comes to confidence, see, one thing you have to keep reminding yourself is that they have chosen you to come into the company, right? If you don't meet the bar, then you wouldn't be there itself.
Sorry to interrupt. I think the question is for while you're changing jobs, not when you have gotten a new job,
Oh,
like in the
okay,
jobs process.
while changing. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, got it. See, the confidence just comes from the fact that from the fact that you believe you're doing well here. So it will so you have to first believe that you're a good product manager before interviewing with the company, right? So I think everybody looking out should first make sure that they are confident of their own skills before giving interviews, right? So be thorough. One thing that I would suggest is be thorough with your current line of work. So, as working professionals, we are not going to have very cliched interview questions, right? We will mostly have questions which are related to work itself, right? But then the difference is, even if you are performing really well at work, uh, you might not have everything on your fingertips right away. But try and revise everything you're doing at work in a very granulated manner before you give an interview, right? Like, for example, you might be working on a project, right? And the impact of it, suppose you're trying to shift into a product manager, so one PM role to a different PM role. So you might not have your metrics handy at your current work because you thought you can always refer to the Excel sheet whenever somebody asks for it, right? But that does not come out well in your interview. So people expect you to have have an idea of what metrics you're tracking, right? So just to build that confidence in yourself, try and revise everything that you're doing day to day. You don't have to do anything specifically for the sake of interviews, but just be thorough and feel confident about what you do, because most of your questions are going to be on that, regardless of what company you interview with. Yes, there are companies which will ask you about product design in a very generic way, but I'm sure in all the recruitment processes, you will have an interview round which is focused on your current line of work, right? So to feel confident, just be thorough with what you're doing right now.
That's great advice. Thank you, Sirisha. I think that is all the questions we have received in today's session. So, I would like to thank you for your valuable time, Sirisha. It has been a complete pleasure to have you with us today. Please accept this certificate of appreciation from the Product Leaders Forum and the Institute of Product Leadership. The QR code on the certificate will actually take you to a dedicated Hall of Fame page that's been created especially for you with the recording of this session. The recording of this session will also be available on our YouTube channel. Thank you,
Thank you so much,
Sirisha.
Harleen. Yeah.
Okay. Before we wind up, the time has come for our speaker to choose the best asked question during today's session. Sirisha,
Yeah.
this is it's your turn now to. I think you can see the answered questions off of Zoom in the Q&A box, and
Okay.
we had some of the social media sites that I read out to you, so I can
Yeah.
repeat
Yeah.
them if you like.
Uh, no. So the best question that I had today is about how women come out as being bossy and what to do about it, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
I think it was a very interesting question, which all of us wonder at some point in our career. So it's good that the person who brought it up has brought it up, and I got a chance to answer that.
Yeah. Okay, great. It was asked by Sakshi on Facebook. So congratulations, Sakshi. We will get in touch with you to communicate the details and we can take it forward from there. Okay. Thank you, Sirisha. Thank you for
Thanks
choosing the.
everyone.
Yeah. To all our attendees, I'm sure you've had an insightful and productive time at this session. Get ready for more sessions in the coming week. Like I mentioned, the next session is on Tuesday evening by the amazing Miss Akhila, where she will talk about being a woman entrepreneur in the manufacturing tech industry. Um, the cherry on top of the cake will be the Women in Product Conference, in-person conference that will take place on the 7th of April. So join us on 7th to hear from these and many more inspirational women. You can find out more information and register for the conference also with the link in the chat. I want to thank you all once again for being here this evening. I'm sure you've had a fruitful time. Uh, I'll wait here for you to go ahead and scan the QR codes on the screen to leave any reviews, feedbacks, or queries. I'll wait here for a couple of seconds so you can go ahead and scan the code. We'd love to hear about your experience at today's session. So go ahead and leave us a review and share your thoughts with us. Okay. I hope there is enough time for everyone to scan the QR codes. That brings us to a close for today's session. It's been a complete pleasure having you all with us here today. I look forward to hosting you at the next session of the Women in Product Summit on Tuesday. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the evening.